setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm so glad that you joined me this morning. Let me give you kind of an update of what I've been going through on this old house in South Carolina where I was building a huge, well, I still am. I'm building this huge deck that goes from one end of the house to the other side of the house. And I hired a contractor that did not know what he was doing. So I have literally had to rip everything up. So the last few days, I've had this big auger. I don't know if you know what an auger is, but it's this machine that has an engine on top and then a corkscrew down at the bottom that drills down into the dirt so that you can pull up dirt and make a post hole. So we've put in 5 of those at the front of the deck, and now we have to do 5 in the back of the deck, because it did not have enough strength equally supported throughout the entirety of the deck. We've had to rip up all of the flooring boards on top. We've had to put in bolts in every single corner that's holding up a post. We have literally had to almost redo this entire thing. I'm waiting today. We're getting in building supplies, cement and gravel and wood so that we can start building these things. But now it's raining here and it's been coming down cats and dogs, so it's been very, very wet. So kind of construction has put to the side, but I've been operating that auger, and I tell you, since I'm an office guy, in using that auger, you are using different parts of the muscles of your body at your upper top. You know, so your shoulders are sore. I can barely move my arms and my shoulders because I'm so out of shape as an accountant. And I'll be the first one to admit it. I started this. I got back from tax season at the 1st of May. So the first thing that I did was I built 7 raised garden boxes, and I had to put dirt and sod, and I had to put all kinds of different things inside these boxes. Now, I've never really built anything in my life except when I was in high school and I worked in a furniture factory, and we built wood frames for sofas and tables and everything else. But that's been a long, long time ago. And so operating these machines is bringing back memories of why I did not go into that line of work, because it's hard work. I tell you, once you get out of bed in the morning and you're trying to move your arms from left to right and you're trying to pick up a cup and it hurts so bad, you know that this was not your line of work to begin with. But it's an amazing thing. So my vegetables are coming up, which is very good. I'm very happy about that. So by the end, in the next few months, I'll have cucumbers and tomatoes and radishes and watermelon and all different other kinds of things. I built 7 of them, and I built 2 of the boxes full of flowers. 2 boxes are filled with flowers. The other boxes are filled with vegetables. So I'm looking forward to that. But this deck is a big problem, and I'm afraid that it's taking its toll on this old man here. I've got so much left to do. I still have a back deck that is so old that it's beginning to crumble down that I need to replace that. That's what happens when you inherit old houses that have not been taken care of for a very long time. And it's a lot of work. But as I go along and I see what I've accomplished, I feel great. Even though I'm in a pain that makes me so sore, I feel great because I can see the accomplishments of what I've done. So I'm not going to complain, because once it gets all done, it's going to be a great deck, great front porch. And then we begin with the back porch, and then there's a lot that needs to be done. I had a client come to me a couple days ago and said that she had formed an LLC and she couldn't get an EIN number. So I got the EIN number for her, but so the LLC now is totally a legal LLC in the state of South Carolina. But my next question to her, since she's a new client, I said, do you know what an LLC is all about? And her response back to me was the word no. She didn't know what it was about. So I had to write her a lengthy email telling her what an LLC does and how it affects each members of an LLC personal income tax return. Now, LLC, if you don't know what it is already, it's a limited liability company, which means it's really formed to protect assets, okay, against lawsuits and other things such as that. So it provides, the LLC members with an umbrella of protection. However, we're seeing that getting eaten away now in the courts with people suing and then trying to go after the members and the managers of the LLC. We've seen that happen. But in most cases, it's protective. And the other issue is that when you form an LLC, a limited liability company, you have to make sure that you keep good records. And the first part is when you form the LLC, you should have an LLC book, which has all of your articles of organization, your operating agreement that you have between all of the members of the LLC, all of your tax records, all of the certificates, the record of receiving capitalization from each of the members. So it has to be organized because that's what forms your LLC. And you have to keep it updated because with an LLC, you still have to have annual minutes and meeting minutes and make sure that you record them. If you open up a bank account, make sure that you've stated that in the minutes that you've approved this bank and all the members are going to be associated with this bank account. However, the only signers are going to be X, Y, and Z. So you have to be very specific on duties because in the operating agreement, it's specific on duties. So you have to make sure that you note in your minutes who has the duties and the authority to manage the LLC, especially the bank accounts. The other issue is that an LLC is a business entity and it has to be thought of as a business entity. Which means, what does that mean? It means that you're going to have to keep financial records. It means you have to keep books, accounting books. So you have to be able to record all of your revenue, income, sales. You have to record it. It means credit card, cash sales, checks, money orders, whatever the source of income that's coming into you has to be recorded correctly. And a lot of people, I've seen this happen so many times. They just think, okay, I've opened up a business. Everything that flows into the bank account is the end of it. No, that's not the end of it. Every bank account has to be reconciled, making sure that it balances. It has to be reviewed to make sure that there are not any unusual expenditures. You have to identify that. You are the gatekeeper of the bank account. So you have to be very concerned about all of your accounts being reconciled. And that also means that if you are receiving credit card payments, that those credit card payments or the provider is reconciling with the money going into your bank account. Several times we've seen that certain charges did not move into the bank account when it should have for some odd reason. So you have to be aware of that and make sure that you monitor it. It's not just making sure there's cash in the bank, but there's a whole bunch of different other things that lead up to verifying what's in the bank account or how much you have outstanding in receivables. How much do people owe you out there that you are not collecting on? You have to monitor that. So the income statement really basically comprises of all the income that is coming in minus cost of goods. Do you know what that is, cost of goods? It means whatever the cost is to produce whatever you're making. So if you're a restaurant, that means all the vegetables that you're buying, the hot dog buns, whatever is associated with that food product that is being shown sold up in your revenue has to have an offset of the costs that are there to create that revenue. And then, so the income minus the cost of goods sold, or sometimes called COGS, equals gross revenue. Under that gross revenue, then you have operating expenses. That means your rent, that means your lights, your utilities, your payroll expenses, your payroll taxes, all those different types of operating expenses that you have to pay for, general liability insurance, auto insurance, etc. You have to have all those expenses classified. So that is operating expenses. Then, so you have your gross revenue minus your operating expenses, then you get down to your net income or loss if you have a loss. Now, that net income or loss has to be split up between all of the other members of the LLC. So if one has 30%, another one has 20%, another one has 40%, it all has to be split up based upon the percentage of ownership that they have in that limited liability company, LLC. So that's why it's so important to have really good accounting records, because all of that net income or loss gets reported on a K1 that gets sent to all of the partnerships. I mean, not all the partnerships, but all of the members who have invested in that company. So now do you see why it's so important to keep really good records? Because all of that has got to be distributed. Now, in tax terms, we call that a pass-through. In other words, it's being passed, the net income or loss is being passed from the LLC to the members based upon the percentage of ownership. So the K1 does that. So you have to produce a solid K1 to each one of those members of the LLC. So it's vital that you have good accounting records and good books and good corporate records so that you know what is going on and how to submit the documentation that each one of those LLC members needs. And then I want to really stress to you, okay, try not to commingle personal bank accounts with the business bank account. If the LLC needs money, it needs an infusion of money to meet rent or something like that because not enough revenue has been generated. If you as a member are going to put money into that business or that LLC, it becomes a loan. Make sure that there's a document that states there is a loan for $2,000 or whatever the amount that is being given to the LLC. Document. But don't commingle because the IRS hates it when you commingle. And I tell you, we accountants hate it when you commingle also. But you have to know, if you're going to form a business, and if you're going to turn it into an LLC or a C Corp or a partnership or whatever entity that you choose, make sure you know what you're getting into. Every business has to stand alone. It has to have a life all by its own. It has to have an arm's length relationship between you and that entity. In other words, when I say arm's length, you're not commingling. You're not taking personal things and putting it into the LLC. It all has to be documented as a business transaction. That's how the IRS looks at it. Then the other issue that I want to make sure that you understand is that the IRS looks at businesses who are operating at a loss consistently. They're probably going to come in at some point in time and classify you as a hobby. You don't want that to happen. So if you're not manage your business well, if you don't have your corporate records, if you do not have your income statement and balance sheets all in a row, your limited liability company could be turned into a hobby because you're really not operating your business as a business and you're not focusing on making it profitable. Now, I know a lot of you get into these situations thinking it's going to be this great tax write-off because you're operating at a loss. But let me tell you that at some point in time, if you're consistent with losses, the IRS is going to be consistent in coming in and saying, okay, you're no longer a viable business. You are a hobby. So make sure that you know what you are getting into when you form these business entities. When you're going into business, are you really going into a business to really make money? Or do you think of it as just only a tax write-off? Get the tax write-off thing out of your mind. One of the comments in fact, the banker told my client, said, oh, form an LLC because it's a great tax write-off. No, that's not what you ever think about. You have to make sure that if you're forming a business, that you're going to operate it as a business, you're going to plan things out, you're going to organize it, you're going to operate the business as a business. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. And if you're going to continually operate your businesses at a loss, you have a real problem coming down the road with the Internal Revenue Service and also the state that you're operating in. So make sure that you're really paying attention when you begin a business. Make sure that you're organized. If you don't feel that you're organized, give it to an accounting firm. Give it to my firm and we'll help you out. If you need to be formed, come to my firm and I'll help you out. I'll form the business for you. I'll do all the financial accounting. I'll even do your tax return. I'm a one-stop shop. But make sure that you do something. If you don't feel that you have the money to pay an accountant, make sure that you study and understand what type of business entity that you're getting into and make sure that you understand accounting. Otherwise, at the end of the year, you're going to be in trouble because you haven't done anything. If you started at the beginning of your business, the first year will go very well, accounting and tax-wise, because you're organized. You've thought the process through. You're proactive and starting out and running your business. Again, if you have any questions, send me an email at mlodge@lodge-co.com. And I will help you through the process. So if you need help, I can provide you with a kind of an estimate of what I think it's going to cost. And we'll go from there. Anyway, this is Mike Lodge for the WBT. Again, know what an LLC is. And know what your responsibilities and obligations are as either the managing member or a member of an LLC. I'll talk with you soon. This is Mike Lodge.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.